Seraphim 17 once again. This is my Soul Level 1 restricted run, and this is us travelling back to the asylum, conquering Queelag, and then playing with Ceaseless Discharge. As you can see, I have to face the wonderful flaming dredgeling guys, who are an absolute sack of bastards. I'm not a big fan of them at all. They make this area much more difficult than it needs to be, but there are definitely ways around them. You can lead them out individually and take them on, or you can use the fire bombs, and the black fire bombs are the strongest variant, and I've grown a big appreciation for this item in this playthrough, because I've never really used any of the, the lesser things that you pick up in the game, because you've never really have that many cause to use it. But in a playthrough such as this one, where any single mistake can cost you a run from a bonfire and you're going back to do it again, the little things definitely make a difference, like alluring skulls and fire bombs. And I've been playing around with a lot of different ways just to make it that little bit more manageable for the performance that I'm trying to capture here. But I hit the bonfire, and just in front now is going to be probably the fight with the stray demon. And I'm going to take fall damage here, which is completely unavoidable unless you have the spells. It doesn't count in the overall scheme of the run. Very cheeky exploit just then. I rolled underneath his belly, which sometimes is difficult to do, especially against the demon fire sage. This guy seems to be much more manageable when it comes to going under his cock and balls, but the demon fire sage just seems to have a bigger belly, and he doesn't want you to do it as much. But what I'm going to display here is the bleed damage that can be done against this boss. If you have any bleed weapon, it doesn't matter what damage it has, the build-up of bleed is sufficient to cause this guy some severe pain. And I fought him enough times now that I'm pretty relaxed on how he fights. It looked like he bled then, but it didn't seem to do much damage. I must have had to follow up the swings. There he goes with the AoE attack. If you're under him or behind him, you stand a much better chance of not being clipped by that silly attack. If you're in front of him, it's got a lot of range, and you have to do some pretty crazy rolls to time the iframes if you want to get through it. But not a difficult boss, just a boss that you have to have experience with before you can do what I'm doing here, because this is literally just knowledge and power. That's it, knowledge and a good weapon. But, oh, missed him. There we go. Now he's dead. We get, I think is it 20,000 souls he gives you? It gives you a lot of souls. This is actually a really good way early game of opening up Darkroot Forest, or the Darkroot Garden as it's called, because they changed it in the patch from 10,000 souls to 20,000 souls for the Crest of Artorias, which I'm a bit pissed off about because it takes a lot longer to get it now. But if you come here, you kill him, you can get it done very quickly. But this is our Black Knight friend. There are 2 of these occupying the asylum. I'm killing them just because I enjoy to kill them, and chain backstabbing these guys is a very valid technique if you know how to do it. And the only problem here is because I have to open hand parry, I can't block. And I two-handed that then to do the riposte, but that only really makes a difference on, I think it's strength scaling weapons. So you don't have to do it. It can be nice to get into the habit. I like to get into the habit of either two-handing the weapon if it's strength scaling, or changing to a different weapon on my offhand so that I can practice for PvP. Because a lot of the times on PvP I use a main, pretty weak weapon like a katana, and then an offhand something stronger usually. Anybody wondering what I'm doing here? I know I said this is a no healing run, and it is. This is merely me using the item find that you get from having high humanity on your soft bar. So any elitists or purists that are like, oh, you just used a humanity, this cannot be a no healing run. Well, I suppose you're kind of right, but in the context of how I've used it, I think it's perfectly fine. It's within the rules that I've agreed upon, and this is my run, bitch. Stop trying to tell me how to do it, son. So I'm going to get the Rusted Iron Ring and probably the Crest Shield. I don't know if I do kill Oscar, I think is the name we've agreed upon. I will say one thing though, he chases me back to the bonfire, and I ended up having a really awkward fight with him. But I've edited that out because as soon as I hit the bonfire, I was going to leave anyway. But this is the second of the Black Knights. if you're wanting to get a Black Knight sword early on so you can make the rest of the game a piece of piss, this is your best bet. These two guys here, oh goodness me, we've got a Dredgeling as well. This is not optimum. Wow! I don't know why he missed me then, the Dredgeling. It must be iframes in the animation. I'm not entirely sure, but that could have been... Oh, goodness me, this is... Oh, goodness me! Wow. I'm glad I kept this bit in. This is really earning the no damage title on that section. Goodness. But I hope people are enjoying the run, because... The only thing I seem to see in the credits... What the fuck am I on about? In the comments, sorry, is people saying how they don't think it's possible. And I can understand if you're quite new to the game thinking that this kind of thing is impossible, but it's really, really not. As I said in the first video, the hardest and most challenging part of this run is the editing. Because all I'm doing is, every time I get hit, I'm going back to the bonfire and I'm starting the run again. And I'm doing it until I get a perfect run between every area in the game. And it's not that hard, guys, if you know Dark Souls. If you've played Dark Souls as much as I have, it really isn't that challenging. Don't get me wrong, are some areas a pain in the ass? Definitely. Do I get sloppily hit sometimes? Definitely. But as it stands, if you put the time in, you're going to get that perfect run. It might take you 2 minutes, it might take you 2 hours. So far, the longest section for me has been the Archers in Anor Londo, the Archers and the Centipede Demon. I had a little bit of trouble on Nito, because I wanted to do it without Tearstone range, and I got very close to it a couple of times, but I got a little bit frustrated with him because I'd not played Dark Souls in a while, and I do think when you're playing Dark Souls a lot, you get used to dying, you can get to that point where you don't get mad, you don't get frustrated, it's just a part of the game, it's a mistake, you continue. But I must have been playing Call of Duty or some other game where I get mad when I die, and when I came back to Dark Souls, I didn't have the right mentality, so when I was getting clipped by Nito and having to restart and then having to run all the way from the bonfire, all the way past the pinwheel room and all that nonsense, I just wasn't having a lot of fun. And I decided to stop playing it for a while. But I went back in a much better mood, and I managed to kick some ass. But now that we've done the asylum, we need to get back out, and you need to be careful here, because when I hit the bonfire, as we know, all the enemies are back, and there's something that happens only in this area. And that is right here. If you make too much noise when you're fighting these, the Dredgelings from the roof can actually fall into the room and start fighting you. And I got clipped doing it that way, so instead I decided to do the whole speedrun thing and just run past them. I'm not too sure why I'm turning around and killing them. There's no real need for this at all. Maybe I'm just doing it to kind of, do a big fuck you to them. Because I don't know about you, but when I play, if an enemy gets the better of me or if an enemy cheeses me, I like to get vengeance. I'm a very revenge-oriented player. And this suddenly makes a lot more sense now, because I'm going to be doing these sparkly trades. And I said sparkly when it's snuggly. Sparkly's on Demon Souls. But if only the game loaded that quick. And it kind of does on PC, one of the best things about the PC version, but lo and behold, I do have PC problems at this moment in time. My CD drive on my tower is not being recognised by my computer. There's a crazy code error thing, and I have to mess and twiddle with it and get it working again. And I've got nothing calling me to my PC at the moment as far as disc-based, so I'm not going to do it right now. I'm going to wait until I want to do something, i.e. a PC game, and then I'm going to get it fixed. And I did open up my tower and reconnect and all that kind of stuff, and it didn't really make a difference. But such is life, and such is my luck when it comes to PCs. But yeah, everything seems to be just dysfunctional at this moment in time. My HD PVR is running hot, I assume. It might not be running hot, it might just be on its way out, which I hope it isn't, because it's far too expensive to replace so soon. Because it's making that the captured videos are a little bit out of sync, which is not the end of the world, because you have to go in and tweak them, but it's just, it adds extra workload to something that isn't necessary at all. Especially when you consider that I edit quite a lot of stuff. And it's just, I don't know. I'm curious as to what it is. And I think I know what it is. and I'm going to try and avoid that, and it's all because my extension went. So it just goes to show, man, it's like this fucking domino effect of technical issues. Just madness. Absolute madness. But with the looks of this, we're going down towards Blighttown. I'm not going to go the standard way through Blighttown because I hate it. Not a big fan of Blighttown at all. That right there, fall damage. If you look at the rules of the restrictions, fall damage is okay, as is poison damage, as is lava damage. Every other damage is a disqualification on the restriction run, so you have to start again, unfortunately, from the last bonfire. But all the ambient bullshit is fair game. And it's a good job it's that way. I could do it so that I didn't take any poison damage, and I could do it so that I didn't take any fall damage. I could do the lava damage too, because you just go through the shortcut instead. But stuff like that I don't think is a display of skill. It's definitely a display of knowledge, because you need knowledge to know how to get around the game without taking those bits of damage. But I'm a player that when I traverse Lordran, I like to do weird jumps. I like to do silly, jumping off elevators to skip 10 seconds of waiting or circling stairs. I like all those kind of things, and I'm not going to play a character that can use fall control just for the sake of it. But this is the Drake Valley run to get the red tier stone ring. There's two ways you can do this. You can man up and do it from the Firelink bonfire, or you can come over here just in case you mess it up, and I come over here because I didn't want to mess it up, and I also realised I had 8 soft humanities on me and 30,000 souls. And when you're doing a run like this, souls aren't really all that important, so losing them is not the same as if you were using them. But 30k is nothing to chalk it. You can still do a lot of upgrading, you can still buy a lot of supplies, so it's definitely worth holding on to them and doing something well, instead of just losing them at a frivolous attempt to run through the valley. But this is one of the most important pieces of equipment on a run like this, because it makes essentially every boss on the game very easy. And I say very easy with a touch of salt, because you have to be able to evade, you have to be able to not get touched. But if you can do that, the boss is going to go down in record fashion, because the power output is unbelievable. The only thing stronger than that is the Clever Cat Ring and Morion Blade combo from Demon Souls. Because on this game, to even get remotely close to the double hyper mode, you have to use Power Within, and Power Within damages you, which there's no pyromancies allowed in this run anyway, because it's against the rules, but at the same time, they would cause damage, and that damage would fail the no damage, so it's it's an interesting one. A couple of people have asked, can they use Dragon Form, can they use various other things, and as far as the rules, as long as you adhere to the ones that I've listed in the description, I think everything else is fair game. Because this is a challenging run for somebody who's quite, I'm not going to say bored with Dark Souls, but somebody who's looking for that extra bit of enjoyment, or that really reclusive attempt to do something out of the ordinary. That's what this challenge is for me. This was me trying to do Soul Level 1 different, because everybody does Soul Level 1, and it used to mean something. Nowadays it really doesn't, because it's such a well-versed playthrough of this game that everybody knows the best weapons, everybody uses the best weapons, everybody's using the pyromancies, everybody's got the Ascended Glove. There's certain things that people are doing to get through the game, and it's fun, it's can be challenging, even though it is kind of easy, and I didn't want to record that because there's a lot of people that have already done that kind of thing. And I'm under no illusion that people have probably done what I'm doing now, a very restricted run. But this one is uniquely mine because I'm using... I've got a bunch of restrictions that seem obscure at first and insane, but once you start playing by them, you realise that they're not that important. And I'm also using a strange combination of weapons with the Ghost Blade and the Blacksmith Hammer. Like, the only really... cliched weapon you're going to see me use is the Reinforced Club, because it's probably the best Soul Level 1 weapon in the game. And I say this because it's a club, so it's got good damage, it can bleed because it's got nails in it, and when it's chaos, it just puts so much output of damage, it's just daft. The only thing that outperforms it is the blacksmith hammer that I'm going to be using, because that is a monster weapon. But that does have the downside of it is electricity, and it's half and half, so if you come up against something that's got a good electricity defense, it's just not going to perform the same as it would against other people. That right there was very close to me getting slapped. Am I going to kill this guy for that, or am I going to run away? I should run away. I do not have the weapon for this. Yeah, that missed. Am I going to run? Run away, Chris. There's no need. We'll come back later and get him. So there's a very easy exploit to beat that guy using the hammer, because the jump attack gives you enough range to strike his hand and get away without being touched by the poison. And you're probably going to see that later on. Well, this commentary is awkward as fuck because I'm using my iPod headphones plugged into my tower, so I've got about half a yard of space, and every time I pick my drink up I'm hitting the cable and it's trying to pull them out my ears. It's not fun. And all because Turtle Beach and the stupid fucking cable. Like, anybody who's paid for, I think they cost me about 50 quid. They weren't too expensive, and they're a good headset for the budget that they are. But it comes with a cable that's the size of the planet. It's so stupid, and all that happens is the cable gets extremely tangled up because you only need about 1.5 feet. So you've got several thousand feet of cable, it's all tangled around, and because of just, you know, life and cables and everything else, gravity perhaps, where the cable's been bound and it's all coiled together and it's you know, created tension, it's cracked the outer plastic shell. So the cable inside has been exposed, and I've not noticed this, and because I do move around my room with it, and I often pull the cables to try and, you know, smoothen them out, and I unfurl them a little bit, I assume it's taken unnecessary hammer and it's ended up fraying the wire. So essentially the headset doesn't work unless you twiddle with the wires, and it's not little problems where the sound just goes a little bit. It's literally gone now. It's got to the point where I can put them on my head like an accessory, but they're not going to give me any audio. And I always get the same flush of anger when a headset fails me. I had the same one for the Tritons. It's literally, I picture this image in my head of me taking it out to my entry, swinging it around on the cable and smashing it into the ground, because it makes me that mad. And there's a part of me that thinks, don't do that, because you might be able to get them replaced. But when I was fucking around with customer support between Mad Cats and the place I bought my Tritons from, it took like 3 months for them to, and they still wouldn't acknowledge whose problem it was and who I was supposed to go to get a replacement. So I ended up dropping it, which is silly when you consider that I paid about 120 quid for that headset and it lasted 5 months. But it's just, oh. I see, I'm like a bull, only I'm not colourblind. I just pure rage sometimes when it comes to technology. So this area here, you can tell I'm getting poisoned. I can do different things about it. I can wear better poison gear. I can cure the poison before it poisons me. I can do a lot of things, but I decided not to them and just make a restriction so that the damage from that was okay. What is also going to happen here, guys, is I have nothing to heal the poison. Absolutely nothing, so I have to fight Queelag with it. The only benefit of this is it gets me into Tier Stone. The downside is when I beat Queelag, I'm about to die, and I was left with 2 options. I could either quit out the game and come back in and just make an edit with me full life at the place that it puts me, or I could be honest with you and I could pop a humanity so that I stayed alive. And I could have edited it out so you'd have never seen it. It could have just, you know, boss ended, end of video, next video, me with full life and carrying on. But I didn't do that. I left it in, and thus there is a rule that says you can use 1 humanity in extreme circumstances like I do, but the rest of the parameters still stand. It has to be no damage. It has to be, you know, all the other restrictions. It's just a case of if you beat a boss and you're about to die, a la poison or something along that lines, you have the open use to use a humanity. I would implore you not to, just for your own sake, because I kind of feel like it ruins the entire playthrough for me, but that's just because, you know, I like to do things proper. I like to do it right, and this is not doing it right. This is bullshit because I didn't have a fucking moss, and it's sad, but I'm about to get in Tier Stone range, but I'm also on a timer, so this boss needs to go down real quick once I'm there. Come on, Tier Stone range, where are you? So Queelag is simple. She can catch her because it's one of those bosses that every so often I get sloppy with because I'm so comfortable with her and I pay the price. Hang on a second, have I even got the Tear Stone on? Oh, there we go, Tear Stone is on. Boss is doing the AoE that she loves to spam when she's losing. This is the end of the fight right here. And this is me realising that I am about to... Ooh, nearly stepped in the lava. I'm about to die right here. I'm about to die of poison. And I could have gone back to the bonfire. I thought about healing. And then I used the Twin Humanity. So that is the only healing item you're able to use. The only reason I used it is because I didn't have any moss. If I'd have had moss, that would have been perfect. But I didn't. So thus, this bullshit commences. So I do apologise to all the purists out there, but it's in the restrictions. One use of a Twin Humanity if needed. And there goes Queelag. But we've rung this bell first, and I think it fucks us. I think it gets rid of the bonfire at Firelink, because if you come down here first, Lautrec gets out and does his business, and you have to fight him in Anor Londo. But not a problem, because we're not going to be using Firelink that often. I'm not going to be doing the Capra Demon because there's no need. I'm not going to be doing the Depths because there's just no need. This is literally going to be a playthrough of the game in the most efficient manner because of all the restrictions that we have. So I drop down here so I can open up this secret bonfire through the wall. Bear in mind, you have to tell this guy that you are one of the servants, and the game automatically goes on no, so if you spam the buttons you're going to say the wrong thing. It's nowhere near as damaging as the awful Karth dialogue, where if you skip the dialogue and you accidentally press the wrong thing, you can't join the Dark Wraiths ever in that playthrough. Which, definitely FromSoft showing their troll side with that bullshit. But there goes the heal, and we're now going to be moving towards Ceaseless. So Ceaseless is one of those bosses that is not difficult. There is a very, very reliable way to kill him, but every so often he'll hit you, and I don't know why. I do the same thing every time I fight this guy. Sometimes it's successful, sometimes it's not, and it doesn't matter how much stamina you've got, it doesn't matter how much you run, it just, sometimes you get screwed, and on this playthrough everything goes smooth, which I'm happy about, because this is an important playthrough for me. I'm having a lot of fun with it, and I just want to reiterate on the people that are saying that it's not possible. Please don't. It is. It's really possible. It's just, you haven't thought about the parameters, you haven't thought about what goes into doing it, that's all. Because I would not attempt something I thought was impossible. For instance, there is a sphere grid, or a no sphere grid challenge playthrough of Final Fantasy X, and the farthest you can get is Unaleska, because nobody's managed to beat her because it seems physically impossible to do it. And I would love to do that if you could beat Unaleska, because I don't see the point in getting up to a boss that's very close to the end but not beating it. And as much as I'd like to be the first person to beat Unaleska on this run, I know that if a bunch of people who are extremely more committed to Final Fantasy X than I am have spent millions of hours trying to do it and have not done it, chances are I won't have the patience to do it myself. Because that's something you've always got to bear in mind with these kind of runs. There is always somebody out there who has more time than you, who has more devotion than you, who has more skill than you, and they're going to do something that you think you can't do. And it's just how it works. Which is why for me, I never let myself get too hung up on people being better or people doing something amazing, and instead you just have to look at it as something awesome and praise it, as opposed to the envious, jealous route that some people get. So I always stop at this stone, and then as soon as he finishes the animation I continue running, and this is it. He's essentially dead now, but you can hear him just then. He did the punch. I think maybe if he doesn't do the punch, he'll try and hit you here with the blast, and if he does, I don't know if it insta-kills you on soul level 1, but it's definitely not going to cheer you up much. There is the blast, as you see it. Very close. But now you're here, usually on this part, because of the path he has to take to get to you, you probably won't take any damage on this moment, which is useful, but nearly 60,000 souls and we've not spent them on anything, so that's pretty weird. I know the first thing I'm going to do is upgrade the chaos path of the weapons, not chaos, sorry, the fire path, because it's easy and all it takes is money really early on. I'm going to make a handful of different weapons just to play with them. So be expecting a fire dagger, a fire hand axe, a fire reinforced club. I want to make a fire katana because I used one against Ornstein and Smo, and if you hit Smo two-handed a couple times, you can break his poise, and because the katana is so fast, it can make him a really, really quick kill. But then you get clipped by Smo doing his silly fat bastard run that he does all the time, and it's got that really weird hit detection on it where he can touch you when he's running, he can touch you with his hammer, he can touch you with his belly. It's like some perverted fairy tale. But all that's going to be happening now is we're going to be running back to the bonfire, we're going to be making our way back up Blighttown, and we're going to be continuing on to do the other bell, which is the bell tower gargoyles. And that is pretty much the end of the second section of this run, so thank you for watching. I hope you're enjoying it, and if you're doing the run along with me, feel free to leave your progress in the comments. Tell me what you're finding to be difficult, what's tripped you up, what you thought was easy. If you've come up with any interesting strategies based on the restrictions, feel free to share those. But that is pretty much it from me, guys, so thanks for watching, and you take care now.